Hi everybody, welcome back. So as you know, we are in our quadratic functions unit, and last week we started on solving for x when you're given a quadratic function. Last week we learned about the square root method. There are actually 3 different methods that we can use. So the first one was the square root method, which is what we learned last week. This week we're going to learn the second method, which is the quadratic formula. And then next week, we're going to learn the last method, which is called completing the square. So that will be our 3-lesson series on solving for x when you're given a quadratic function. So why don't we go ahead and get started? So like I said, today's lesson, the title is called Quadratic Formula. So go ahead and title your notes, Quadratic Formula. So a quadratic formula can be used to solve quadratics in the form ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. So this here is our standard form for a quadratic equation, right? So when you're given a quadratic equation like this, you can use a quadratic formula. This formula is actually a very famous formula, you guys. You will see it many times. And the formula is this: x is equal to negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So this is a formula that you can use at any time when you're given a quadratic equation, because out of the 3 methods that I've mentioned, not all of them works at all times, but a quadratic formula is something that you can use always. Okay, so why don't we go ahead and take a look at an example here. So the example is 3x squared minus 4x is equal to 4. So what we want to do, so we could already tell that we're given a quadratic formula because this variable x has an exponent of 2. So what we want to do is take this equation and write it in the standard form. So what we need to have is move this constant over so that we have a 0 on the right side of the equal sign. So to get rid of that 4, what we would do is subtract 4 from both sides. And then let's see what we have. Let's see. So on the left side, we got 3x squared minus 4x minus 4. The constant just gets added to the end, is equal to 4 minus 4 is 0. So now this equation looks exactly like the standard form. So now we're going to go ahead and apply it to the quadratic formula. In order to apply to the quadratic formula, first we need to identify what is our a, b, and c. So let's go ahead and do that. What is our a, b, and c in this equation? So a is our very first term here, which is 3. B is the middle term, negative 4. And c is the constant at the end, again, negative 4. Make sure you watch out for the signs in between the numbers. Okay. So now that we've identified our a, b, and c, we can go ahead and plug it into the formula. So if we go ahead and plug it into the formula, what we have is x is equal to, first is negative b, right? And our b is negative 4. So what we would do is negative b. And since our b is already negative, I'm going to go ahead and put a parenthesis. So that will give us negative 4 plus or minus square root of, next part is b squared. Again, b is negative 4, so that's negative 4 squared minus 4 times a is 3, times c. Our c is negative 4. I need to extend out my square root, there we go, and divide all of that, by 2 times a. A is 3, so 2 times 3. So this is what it looks like. So I know that it looks a little bit overwhelming at first, but I promise you it's not too bad. We just go one step at a time, okay? So let's go ahead and start from the beginning. So let's go ahead and simplify this out. So let's start here. We got negative 4, negative. We know that when two negatives are together, when you're multiplying a negative times a negative, it's a positive. That becomes positive 4 plus or minus square root. First one here, negative 4 squared. Negative 4 times negative 4 is 16. And next part, here we are multiplying three numbers together, right? So let's start with the first two. First one is negative 4 times 3. Negative 4 times 3 will give us negative 12. And then now you've got to multiply this with this, right? Negative 12 times negative 4 would give you positive 48. So inside the square root here, if you multiply these three numbers, will be positive 48. So I'm going to go ahead and write plus 48. And then all over 2 times 3 is 6. Okay. So let's go ahead and continue to simplify a little bit more. X is equal to 4 plus or minus square root of 16 plus 48. 16 plus 48 is 64 over 6. Okay. So when you get to this point, you have to ask yourself, can I simplify the square root? In this case, yes, we can, because square root of 64 is a perfect square. So then we know that square root of 64 is 8, right? 8 times 8 is 64. So this becomes 4 plus or minus 8 over 6. We're almost done. So as you guys know, plus or minus means that you could either add or subtract. So we're going to go ahead and separate our answers, okay? So the first answer is 4 plus 8 over 6. And then the second answer is 4 minus 8 over 6. Now let's go ahead and work that out. So the first one is 4 plus 8, which is 12 on the numerator, 6 in the denominator. 12 over 6 is 2. So our very first answer is 2. So I'm going to go ahead and box that. Second answer, 4 minus 8. 4 minus 8 is negative 4. Divide that by 6. We got negative 4 over 6. If we could simplify, we must always simplify. So if we simplify this fraction, it's negative 2. Sorry. My pen was being weird. So that's negative 2 over 3. So here is our second answer. So we got two answers, positive 2 and negative 2 over 3. And then we're done. I think the only thing I want to ask you to watch out for, it's pretty simple, is signs. So make sure you watch out for the signs. If there's a negative sign on the front, make sure you bring that down. When you're plugging into the formula too, there's a lot of plus and minuses and negatives and whatnot. So make sure you're separating them out with the parentheses to help you keep your numbers organized, okay? But as long as you are staying organized, it should be very easy. If you have any questions, send me a message on Schoology. And I miss all of you guys. Hope you're all doing well. Bye.